In a world where geopolitics and humanitarian efforts often collide, certain events bring the human experience to the forefront of our understanding. One such event occurred on June 9, 2025, when Israeli naval forces intercepted the British-flagged yacht Madeleine, carrying prominent climate activist Greta Thunberg and a group of international activists. Their mission? To deliver vital humanitarian aid to Gaza, food, medical supplies and solar panels, something the activists considered crucial in the face of a growing humanitarian crisis. The location of this interception was international waters, a critical detail in the debate over the legality of Israel's actions. For Thunberg and her companions, this incident was an unlawful kidnapping, while Israeli officials dismissed the mission as a publicity stunt. But beyond politics and legality, this is a story of distress, autonomy, and resilience. It's a story that resonates with anyone who's ever found themselves caught between personal conviction and external forces. So, how do we process the feelings of helplessness and fear when our sense of agency is stripped away? The psychological impact of distress. When an individual finds themselves in a situation they perceive as a threat, captivity, restraint, or fear of harm, a profound psychological response is triggered. In the immediate aftermath, shock and numbness often settle in. This serves as a natural defense, a protective mechanism against the overwhelming flood of emotions. For Greta Thunberg and the activists on board the Madeleine, the initial shock may have given way to a cascade of emotions: anxiety, anger, helplessness, and a sense of injustice. The uncertainty of the situation amplifies fear, particularly the fear of repetition. Fear that the next moment may bring more harm, more loss of control. Cognitive disturbances, such as intrusive thoughts and a sense of confusion, follow soon after. How could they, as peaceful activists, suddenly find themselves detained by force? It's not just a physical violation they face, it's the psychological violation, the sense of autonomy lost. Cognitive dissonance emerges. The activists, committed to a moral cause, find their idealistic mission colliding headfirst with reality, creating internal tension. In severe cases, this can lead to long-term trauma, such as post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, characterized by intrusive memories, nightmares, and severe anxiety, all rooted in the experience of helplessness and a profound loss of control. Stockholm Syndrome and survivor's guilt. In captivity situations, we also encounter a peculiar phenomenon: Stockholm Syndrome, where the captives form emotional bonds with their captors. Could the activists, isolated and vulnerable, develop such feelings toward their Israeli captors? The ethical implications of this are profound. What happens when the defenders of justice, those standing up for humanitarian causes, find themselves physically and mentally bound to those they perceive as oppressors? This internal struggle can distort the perception of self, creating an unsettling guilt for having survived while others may not. And then there's survivor's guilt, the intense feeling of guilt for having lived through an ordeal that others, like the citizens of Gaza, continue to endure. It's the emotional tug-of-war between survival and moral obligation. Neurobiological underpinnings of stress. The distress of such experiences is not only psychological, but deeply neurobiological. The brain's amygdala, our alarm system, goes into overdrive when we feel threatened, triggering a cascade of physiological changes: increased heart rate, rapid breathing, and heightened senses. In moments of extreme stress, these systems become hyperactivated. The prefrontal cortex, which helps regulate emotion and decision-making, becomes impaired, while the hippocampus, crucial for memory, begins to falter. For survivors of traumatic events like this, their brains may struggle to differentiate between the current moment and past trauma, distorting their recollections and causing them to relive the fear over and over again. Philosophical frameworks for coping. How do we cope with extreme adversity? Psychology offers mechanisms, but philosophy gives us the tools to understand why we suffer and how we can transcend it. Stoicism teaches us that suffering occurs when our ideals collide with reality. The activists on the Madeleine had a vision of delivering humanitarian aid, an idealistic mission that was interrupted by the harsh reality of a naval blockade. Stoic wisdom suggests that while we cannot control external events, we can control our reactions. It's about accepting what we cannot change and finding inner peace amid turmoil. Existentialism, on the other hand, calls for finding meaning in suffering. Viktor Frankl's teachings, born from his experiences in Auschwitz, demonstrate how suffering can lead to deeper purpose. The activists may see their mission as a way of creating meaning amidst injustice, but the moment of interception forces them to confront existential questions. Why do we risk so much for a cause? What is the purpose of our suffering? Finally, virtue ethics, based on Aristotle's teachings, encourages us to grow in character through adversity. The virtues of fortitude, courage in the face of fear, and justice, doing what is right regardless of personal cost, come to the forefront here. The activists' resilience in continuing their advocacy, even while detained, exemplifies this moral growth. They are not simply surviving, they are showing the strength to continue their pursuit of justice. Coping with distress, psychological and philosophical approaches. From a psychological perspective, the first step to recovery involves problem-focused coping, seeking to understand the source of stress and actively addressing it. For the activists, this could mean continuing to advocate for their cause, even in captivity. It's about making the trauma part of a larger narrative. However, emotion-focused coping is also crucial. It allows individuals to regulate their emotional responses, using strategies like meditation, deep breathing, or simply seeking social support. For Thunberg and her fellow activists, maintaining emotional balance through solidarity, communication, and a shared purpose could provide relief. In the long term, resilience is key. It's not just about bouncing back. It's about growing stronger, learning from suffering, and finding a deeper sense of purpose in the face of adversity. Resilience isn't just a trait we're born with. It's something we build, something we cultivate. The interception of the Madeleine and the detainment of Greta Thunberg and her fellow activists presents a profound case study for understanding the psychological and philosophical dimensions of distress and resilience, whether through the lens of psychological coping, neurobiological stress responses, or philosophical frameworks such as Stoicism, existentialism, and virtue ethics. We gain valuable insights into the complexities of human suffering and the incredible capacity for resilience. What we see here is not just a geopolitical incident. It's an exploration of the human spirit when faced with adversity. The experience of distress, captivity, and moral struggle is universal, and the ways in which individuals respond can offer deep lessons on the strength of the human will to endure and find meaning, even in the darkest of circumstances. If this deep dive into the human psyche and the philosophy of resilience resonated with you, give this video a like and share it with someone who might appreciate this perspective. We'd love to hear your thoughts. How do you think philosophy and psychology can help us cope with real-world crises? Drop your reflections in the comments below. For more content that untangles the complexities of modern issues, subscribe to Think Tangle, your go-to place for thoughtful analysis on global challenges. Don't miss out. Hit the bell so you're always in the loop for our next exploration into the world's toughest questions. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more thought-provoking discussions.